Exactly. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, April 13th meeting of the Stafford County School Board. We are meeting this evening at Shirleyheim Middle School, and this meeting is open to the public. I will have called us to order. No one has decided or will be participating electronically, so we will move right on to our roll call. I will have each board member introduce themselves and their district, please. Ms. Healy, can you start us?
Patricia Healy, Rock Hill District.
Irene Hollerback, the Aquia District.
Elizabeth Warner, Griffiths Widewater District.
Susan Randall, George Washington District.
Holly Hazard, Hartwood District.
Pamela Young, the Garrisonville District.
Sarah Chase, the Falmouth District.
All right, all members are in attendance physically in the chambers this evening. We'll move on to our next item, which is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any deletions or changes to the agenda? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're going to move on to our first proclamation of the evening regarding National Autism Acceptance Month. This will be read this evening by Ms. Hollerback, please.
A proclamation to designate April 2021 as National Autism Acceptance Month. Whereas April has been designated as National Autism Acceptance Month, and whereas autism is a pervasive developmental disorder affecting the social learning and behavioral skills of those affected by it. And whereas autism occurs in all racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups and is 4 times more likely to occur in boys than in girls. And whereas, as more and more health professionals become proficient in diagnosing autism, more children are being diagnosed on the autistic spectrum, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 54 children. And whereas, while there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment early in their lives, it often is possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas the Stafford County Public Schools provides ongoing training to educate parents and professionals about autism and its effects, now therefore be it proclaimed that the School Board of Stafford County hereby proclaims April 2021 as Autism Acceptance Month throughout the school division.
Thank you, and thank you for all of those educators who work specifically with our autistic children and all the hard work that they do. Next, I'd like to move on to a presentation of recognition regarding our nutrition services. Mr. Brian Wims, but I'm going to recognize Mr. Chris Fulmer.
Evening, board members and Madam Chair. I'm going to welcome up a few of our staff members. We would like to recognize all of our nutrition workers across the division and express our gratitude for the tremendous work they've accomplished over the past year. They've assured that all children have breakfast and lunch by adapting their meal programs to provide curbside pickup and neighborhood deliveries. During the past year, these staff members have provided over 2.2 million meals to Stafford County children. We couldn't have all of our nutrition staff here tonight, but we do want to recognize our nutrition director, Brian Williams, and 3 of our cafeteria managers. We have Lisa Chambers from Widewater Elementary School, Cheryl Riley from Dixon Smith Middle School, and Farah Nori from North Stafford High School. On behalf of No Kid Hungry, Virginia, we'd like to present this School Meals Hero Award that recognizes the tireless commitment to food, access, and educational equity.
Thank you. And on behalf of the school board, but also all the families that you all have fed over the last year and a half, you have our gratitude. Thanks for being flexible, responding to an unprecedented, the word I hate to keep using, situation, but just having seen so many evenings with the cars lined up, just the service that you all have done. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, continuing in the vein of wonderful recognition of our staff, we're going to move on to another portion of our recognition of our Teachers of the Year. And we will go ahead and get started.
Chairwoman Hazard, school board members, and Dr. Jones. Annually, all schools in the division recognize an individual who reaches above and beyond to demonstrate a devotion to students and staff and a passion for his or her craft. These Teachers of the Year are traditionally recognized during an awards assembly. However, we are unable to host an event this year due to COVID-19 restrictions. This evening, we will continue our video series recognizing the school-based Teachers of the Year and highlighting the impact each has on his or her school community.
This year, all teachers across Stafford County have worked incredibly hard to meet the needs of our students. I'm very proud of our third grade teacher, Mrs. Cynthia Ensley, who is representing Barrett as our Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Ensley was chosen from her peers to represent our school because she believes in the core values that we demonstrate each and every day. She's dedicated, she's passionate, and she provides a service to the children in her classroom. I think one of the things that stands out for me with Cynthia is her Southern charm and her witty personality. It's not uncommon to walk by the classroom and hear laughter coming from the room, even though we all have to wear the mask. Cynthia is a team player, understands that we have to go above and beyond to reach the needs of our kids, and she very much believes in the philosophy of our school community. Again, she's hardworking, she's dedicated, she's a true teacher hero, and we're honored to have her as Barrett Elementary's Teacher of the Year.
Just want to say thank you so much for nominating me to be Barrett's Teacher of the Year for 2020-2021 school year. It is an honor and a privilege to be acknowledged by my peers, to say, I see you, I see the job you're doing, I appreciate the job you're putting forth, the effort you're putting forth, and just the fact that my peers nominated me really makes me feel good on the inside that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Here at Barrett Elementary, everybody is valued. We also allow teachers to be whoever they want to be. You get the privilege of being the teacher that you always dreamed you could be. That's been a passion of mine ever since I was a little girl. So I truly am living my dream here at Barrett Elementary. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Brian Fitzgerald, the principal at Margaret Brent Elementary, and I have the honor and privilege of introducing to you Miss Laney Parrott, our Teacher of the Year. When I think of Miss Parrott, really three characteristics define the reason why she was selected by our colleagues and her colleagues and our staff as the Teacher of the Year. First one is relationships. She has a strong relationship with her students. She's developed a really strong relationship with her grade level peers and a strong relationship with all of the community here at Margaret Brent. The second one is advocacy. She is a really strong advocate for her students. One of the things you'll notice when you meet Miss Parrott is she never lets one student slip by. She really has a great understanding of all of her student needs and will absolutely advocate to the utmost degree to make sure every student needs are being met. And the last one, probably the most important one for any of our teachers, but importantly, especially through this pandemic, has been heart. And her heart is just huge. She loves her students. She has dedicated herself tirelessly to making sure that students are doing well in her class. And it is that heart for her students, her heart for learning, her heart for teaching that really set her aside this year, and one of the reasons that we have named her our Teacher of the Year here at Margaret Brent.
It was definitely a major honor to be nominated as my school's Teacher of the Year. To me, that's it's the biggest honor I could imagine, because it just shows that my peers notice that there's something about me as an educator that stands out. And it's only my 6th year, all here at Margaret Brent, all teaching 3rd grade, and I've learned so much from the people around me that it is a real honor that they see something special in me as well. One of my favorite things about working here at Margaret Brent is the teamwork. I have been so lucky to be put in a 3rd grade team with amazing people from my very first day. I've learned from them I've been able to learn leadership. I've been able to learn better education practices and instructional strategies. I've been able to learn how to love kids better, all this stuff that you can't really learn in school. It is an honor to have been chosen the Teacher of the Year here at Margaret Brent, but that honor really does lie on the backs of all of the people who've taught me and who've come before me and helped me get to this point.
We are so excited that Andrea Wright is our Rising Star Teacher of the Year. She is a fabulous teacher and works to meet the needs of each of her students. She received a Cooking with Autism grant so that she could better motivate her students with emotional and behavioral concerns. She is a leader for our teachers. They go to her for advice and support. She is the leader of her PLC team and a strong problem solver in our early childhood leadership team. In addition, Andrea starts our day with a smile. She knows that's so important to our program that we all greet our children every day with a smile. So she sends us all a joke to have us laughing before we come into school. In addition, Andrea is involved in her community. She's a founding board member of the Cooking with Autism organization. She is a volunteer with Stafford Food Security, and she also volunteers with the Fairy Godmother Project, helping families with sick children. Andrea, to me, epitomizes what Stafford Schools teachers do for their children and their community, and we are very proud of her.
Being nominated for my building is an extreme honor. I work with many talented individuals that love teaching, love children. They come to school ready every day to work with every child, no matter where they're at. So to be nominated out of everyone in this building, it is fabulous. I was very excited and shocked when I received that honor because not one person in this building that doesn't deserve that. My approach to teaching is that I enjoy working with each child on an individual level. Whatever their needs are, I truly enjoy working with the special needs community, our students with autism, our students with developmental delays, cognitive delays, anything like that, because I know that we can celebrate every milestone they reach, because for them it is just as exciting as a student that's learning to read. So we've had a student that struggled just going up and down the bus steps because of his unique needs, and he's doing that now. We have another student who is or was nonverbal at the beginning of the year, and now he's using words and he's putting some signs together. He's interacting more with his friends. I have students that struggle to make it through these longer days, and they've adjusted to the routine, and for me that is huge because it's setting them up for success. So thank you so much for this honor. It's just wonderful to be nominated amongst all the wonderful teachers here at Rising Star, and I will do my best to lead by example every day. Thank you.
We are so fortunate to have nominated for our Teacher of the Year this year, Elaine Smets. She is the epitome of a math specialist. She works and encourages our staff. She helps to encourage our students to do their very best, and she reaches out to parents to make sure they understand the mathematics curriculum. She not only spends her time doing all of that within our school day, she also has hosted our 24 Math Club for several years, which has grown in size to where it needs extra people. So Elaine Smets is amazing.
Elaine was so welcoming from the time I started at the school several years ago. And she was immediately wanting to bring math manipulatives in, asking what I needed. Do you need help setting up centers? And I did gather information. I feel like I'm representing more than just myself here in the views that other people have in this school of how helpful she is, of always wanting to be there and provide what we as teachers need, and knowing and appreciating the time that we are in the classroom and how valuable that time is, and being able to fill those gaps.
Elaine is a very important team member of our second grade team. Our second grade team is a team where we have 5 years or less experience. So being able to come to her, she always gives us encouragement words. She always gives us strategies. And she always wants us to be successful, but in turn, she wants the children to be successful. She is always willing to make quizzes to make sure that we have the math tools that we need. I've been a teacher here at Falmouth for 15 years. I've been a teacher for 25, and Falmouth is one of the best places in the world to work. The teachers let you come into their rooms and do lessons, and they enjoy the activities that I do with them. I'm always trying to share new and different ways of approaching topics, and they're very open to trying. I've had a lot of good co-teaching relationships with these teachers, and I am thrilled that I was nominated. It was amazing to me, and I felt very, very honored, the Teacher of the Year at Falmouth Elementary School.
Good evening. I'm William Boatwright, principal here at A.G. Wright Middle School. I'd like to introduce you to Miss Jessica Hall, our A.G. Wright Teacher of the Year. Miss Hall teaches 8th grade, and she's been with us for about 8 years now. Miss Hall was nominated by the faculty and staff in our community to be our Teacher of the Year. She went through a selection process and was elected, so we'd like to congratulate her on being elected Teacher of the Year. Ms. Hall was nominated because she's active in our community. She works with our students. She works with students who sometimes folks find more challenging than others, but she finds them adorable. She works with our new teachers. She mentors new teachers. She's willing to help bring people along in the profession. For those reasons, she was nominated and was selected as A.G. Wright Teacher of the Year.
So, hi everybody, I'm Ms. Hall. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much to everybody who nominated me for Teacher of the Year. This is such an honor. As a teacher, this is really the highest award that we can get within our building. And to be nominated by my coworkers who I respect so much and who I've grown with over the past 10 years is absolutely phenomenal. I can't put into words how much that means to me to be nominated by my peers and my administrator who I look up to so much, Mr. Boatwright. So when I first started teaching, I originally started off as a counselor. And when I was working in a classroom as a counselor, my students were like, wow, you're really good at the teaching part of this and teaching math. And I was like, okay, you're kind of right. I like it and I enjoy it. So I went off and I started my education to become a math teacher. And during that time, I really fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the fact that if I really took my time and tried to create my lessons in a different way and create these learning experiences, that I could motivate all students to learn. And, you know, sometimes as a teacher, we know the word all doesn't really mean every single person gets an A. Sometimes it just means that every single person might pay attention or every single person might at least try. And that's what I really strive for. And that's what I strive for every day. You know, for the past couple of years, I've been working in the collaborative setting, and I've really had to adjust my way of teaching to reach all learning styles. And I have found that to be so inspiring and motivational to myself. And I just want to say thanks again. This is such an amazing honor. And thank you to everybody who's just working really hard this year. I think we all deserve to be Teacher of the Year this year.
The reason why we nominated Frida Crawley is because she is just such an excellent employee. She exhibits excellent leadership skills, qualities, professionalism, and she is always willing to provide her expertise to her colleagues, to the students, and to the families in the community. She was an integral part of our virtual teaching this year. I cannot say enough about her, and the staff cannot say enough about her, about how above and beyond that she went for us in order to get the things that we needed, the materials that we needed, provide the professional developments for the staff that was desperately needed. And she did it with such, I don't want to say the word grace, but professionalism. She was very, very kind, and she was very open to the staff during a time where they were feeling uncertain. She also runs our Drew TV, and she works along with the students at home and in school now in order to provide live daily announcements to the staff and the students, and that has been awesome. She also partnered up with an outside organization to get microphones for students who were in need that were working remotely, so they got to keep them. And again, we just love having Frida here. It's her first year here at Drew Middle School, but not her first year in the county. And we have been blessed just to have her on the staff.
To be nominated as Teacher of the Year was such an honor. I grew up in Stafford and remember playing sports here at Drew, and to come back as an adult, as a teacher to Stafford County has always been such a blessing in my life. And this is my first year at Drew, and to take a leap of faith in your profession, I transitioned to becoming an ITRT here. And the first day, I was welcomed with open arms and knew that I'd made the right decision. Walking around the building, I'm always happy to help other teachers and students, especially during the time of virtual learning, and making that transition a successful one for our learners has been such a great opportunity for us here at Drew.
Thank you all for being here. We're really happy and proud that you're here, that we can honor our Teacher of the Year from North Stafford High School for the 2021 school year, Miss Andy Mara, as she is a math teacher and a leadership teacher here at the world's greatest high school. Her colleagues nominated her for her unwavering commitment to student success, for helping all students be successful, and for her unwavering commitment to building a positive culture and climate. Her efforts over the last few years have landed her national recognition from the Jostens Renaissance program for her commitment to student success and to culture and climate. So she is a very welcome addition here. We're incredibly proud of her, and we wish her congratulations, our Teacher of the Year for 2021, Miss Andy Mara.
Thank you, North Stafford, for nominating me for Teacher of the Year this year. I'm so blessed to work at such a wonderful school with great students and faculty. I'm very fortunate to teach kids about math and increase their passion for learning, as well as our student leaders about responsibility and time management as we plan events for the school. This has been a great experience over the past 3 years, and I just can't wait to keep making a difference here at North in such a great community.
Congratulations to these Teachers of the Year. At our final presentation on April 27th, we will continue recognizing our nominees and announce the SCPS Teacher and Principal of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been great getting to see the teachers actually in their environments. I certainly miss the wonderful presentations we've had, but I really want to do a hats off to our media staff to bring to life the great work that's being done in our schools by our teachers. So, all right, without any further ado, I know Dr. Nichols will be coming forward with our 2021 graduation plans. I know there has been lots of work and blood, sweat, and tears probably going into this plan to make sure that we are in compliance. So, Dr. Nichols, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Jones. Appreciate you having us here to unveil the 2021 graduation plan. The governor came out with his fourth amended Executive Order 72, which provided guidelines specifically to graduation and commencement ceremonies. Stafford County high schools, all of our high schools, will follow all of these guidelines as we present and host graduations for in-person. As you can see, we're going to have, each high school is going to host 6 ceremonies. And you may say, why 6? Well, when you look at the 30% capacity for each high school stadium, it brings you down to roughly about 1,200 to 1,300 students. But also within the guidelines, that's hidden halfway down that you don't really see, it says, must maintain 10 feet social distances between graduation parties. So a group or a party of parents, family members for one student becomes that party. So in our stadiums, in order to make sure that we have 10 feet of social distance between our parties, we went from 4 to 6 ceremonies, where roughly we're anywhere between 600 to 700 folks at the ceremony, not including the graduates on the field. And again, you can see here that each of our schools will be hosting those. We are going to be hosting these in alphabetical order. So each group will be based on the alphabet. And this is really to facilitate and maintain the safety with meeting the guidelines. And there's a lot, with a normal graduation, there's a lot of logistics into a ceremony. Compounding on top of that, the mitigation strategies that we must adhere to in order to hold in-person group gatherings of this nature. We're keeping it alphabetically for the logistics purposes. Also, we've discussed this, and the high school principals all agree that we're looking at the social emotional wellness of our students. And then also, we do have families that sometimes struggle with the communications. And we found in previous issues where we try to have signups and things that we struggled or missed some folks, and we don't want to do that for this great ceremony. So that is why we're going to maintain an alphabetic order for the ceremonies. Now, each ceremony will follow the same standard process. We're going to have the processional of our graduates coming in. We're going to make sure that we do the introductions. We'll have speeches. We'll have band and chorus. We'll hand out the diplomas. We'll declare our students graduates, and then we'll have a recessional leaving each one of our ceremonies. We have, as I said, we have 6 ceremonies, and with those, we're going at 8, 11, and 2. And again, we're going to do that on June 11th, which is a Friday, and then Saturday, June 12th. We have 3 hours in between each of the ceremonies so that we can ensure that we get everybody out of the stadiums, disinfect, clean the bleachers, the restrooms, all the areas up on stage, the mics. And again, you'll notice rain. If we have rain, graduation is going to continue. And that's been our motto ever since we went outside a long time ago now. But in the event that we have lightning or thunder, we will follow what we currently do for some of our athletics, is that we'll go on a 30-minute delay. And once we hit that, we'll continue with the ceremony. Now, knock on wood, but if for some reason the day is not a go, we will move Friday to Sunday or Saturday to Sunday based on whatever those weather conditions may be. But we're going to go at 8, 11, and 2. Tickets. Each graduate will receive 8 graduation tickets. And with that, we will not have extra tickets because we do have to maintain the social, physical distancing between all of our families. We're also going to make sure that every graduation has a separate ticket. Every person that comes into the stadium, no matter age, has to be accounted for by our tickets. Again, based on the social distancing. And so this will be our process for tickets. When we start looking at guest seating, as you can see, with having to maintain a 10-foot social distancing between parties, as people arrive, we're going to have staff or event staff. We're going to be there to usher families into the bleachers, into the stadium seating. It's not going to be a typical, which this whole year has not been typical, where you might get there early to get to the 50-yard line or down on the track or wherever you might like. When we get you in, we're going to take you up into the stadium and put you in an area. And then if you have 8 people in your party, 10 feet from that last person, you'll have the next person. If you have 6 people in your party, because 2 people couldn't make it, or you have a handicapped person that might need to be down on the lower level on the track or on the field, we'll go 10 feet from that 6th person. But again, our principals have measured out stadiums. They've done all the calculations to actually determine the capacities with the 10-foot social distancing. And also when we start looking at 6 or 4 or however those combinations might come up. Handicap seating, as I mentioned, we do have that down on the ground level. And again, when the principals send out a more detailed communications as they detail specifics to their school, they'll be providing that information. But in talking with all the principals, those folks will call the main office to make their reservation for that handicap seating. And again, we're going to ask that the seating will be limited to the bleachers, the track or field. And again, not all of our high schools have a track around the stadium, so some have some of their seating on the field close by. And then again, when you come into the stadium, we'll usher you in the seats. But at the end, we need to dismiss you by rows, sections, because part of the guidelines specifically is that we do not want bottlenecking, and parties have to maintain, as they're entering and exiting, must maintain 6-foot social distancing between parties. They're trying to limit hugs, high fives, kisses, embracing, all of that. So it's really strict on parties will stay together, but you need to stay separate from other parties. So again, that's why, so we don't have bottlenecking at the entrances and exits, we'll have to have a dismissal. And that's normal in some other big ceremonies that you may have attended before. We look at the protocols. Again, we're going to maintain the 6 feet physical distancing between all the parties, I said. At the conclusion of the ceremony, we're going to ask people, as we're dismissing them, that they leave promptly. That means they walk to their car, they meet their graduate at the car if they come together, and then vacate the premises so we can get in and we can clean, disinfect, and prepare. Again, we have 3 hours in between from start to the next start. The ceremony is going to approximately be about 40 minutes to an hour. And again, that's calculating based on what we used to do with 500 kids. So with that, start to finish, we have about an hour to get people out, clean, disinfected before the next folks come in for the next ceremony. And then again, we will be cleaning, and we'll have, the restrooms will be available, they'll be disinfected. We have extra restrooms, porta pots will be available also to make sure we meet all the needs for our guests. And again, we'll have hand sanitizers around the area. We'll also have required signage, whether they be the signboards in the yard or along the fences, but we'll be making sure that people know that if you have been in contact or been diagnosed with COVID within the last 14 days or so, that you're not welcome to the ceremony. If you would, we'd like you to stay home. Again, the other issue that all these ceremonies will be live broadcast. They'll be streamed, and everyone who would like to watch them can watch them at home through access on the internet. But they will be streamed, and the quality for the graduations, they're good quality. And I've seen these tapes, and I know firsthand that you get a close-up view of the graduates. And then again, communications plan. Again, tonight I'm here presenting to you the plan. We will be having a press release on the plan. We will have the principals sending out a communication, an overall letter, similar to what this presentation contains, to get the information out. And then within the next week or so, they'll be sending out another letter with more specifics regarding the graduation start times, ticketing information, etc. And then they will follow it up with their senior class sponsors with some additional communications between now and the time of the events. And with that, that pretty much wraps up our graduation plan. I will tell you that online for folks in the first slide, back where it talked about the executive order, there's a live link that will take you right to the executive order, which everybody can reference. But we've spent numerous days going over the executive order guidelines to make sure that we're following those as we're putting the graduation plans into practice and then bringing it forward to you. So this time I have questions for you.
I'm going to start with Ms. Hollerbeck since she has a senior, having sat in that seat last year. So I am going to give deference to Ms. Hollerbeck to start us off with questions. And then everybody will get a spot.
I'm going to keep it germane to what we're talking about because I've got a lot of other issues I need to kind of get off my chest during member comments. So I'll keep this directed just at graduation. And I'm just curious, and I know a lot of other parents are probably wondering the same thing. When you first started this off, you said that these are guidelines, and guidelines are suggestions. So what happens if we don't take their suggestions and we kind of overstep a little bit? What are the ramifications of not abiding by their guidelines or their suggestions?
Well, I guess I can answer that this way, is that the state superintendent shared these with us, and the governor shared them, and we've been following the guidelines throughout the pandemic as they've been coming out. We've been very proactive in following the guidelines as they've been recommended, and I think the onus on us is to ensure the safety of our families and students, and I think with that, we're following the guidelines that we've put out, and again, we were asked to put together a ceremony following the specific Executive Order 72.
So I guess my question is there a punishment? Is there withholding of funds, or is there some kind of punishment is the only word I can think of at the moment, if we don't abide by the governor's suggestions? Do we not know that answer, or? Right.
Ma'am, I don't know that answer, but I know as the chief academic officer, we're going to follow the guidelines put out for us.
Okay.
And it's something we've been asked by Dr.
I don't
Jones
mean to
and
put
Dr.
you on the spot.
Kisner.
I just thought that there was an answer that, that parents could say, okay, well, we can't lose funding for schools, so I understand.
Well,
could they shut us down?
Let me just offer a little insight via Dr. Kisner. There's two other issues related to compliance, and that is insurance and liability. So in order to ensure safety, that risk of insurance and liability are things that we need to think about. So we would gently ask the public to abide by our guidelines, just like we do on any school day when it comes to safety.
Great, and I appreciate that. That's something that parents can hear and understand and say, okay, it's better than we're just following what the governor is telling us we have to do with no repercussions. So thank you, appreciate that.
Ms. Young, did you want to go next?
Yes, thank you so much. Tom, Dr. Nichols, thank you so much for all the work that you put in to this effort. I know last year we were unable to hit it off, but I attended some of the graduations even in COVID, and they ran smoothly. And so I'm very appreciative of you getting this started early. And so I'm very excited. I also hope that as members of the board, we represent our constituents, but we also represent our students, and it's our duty to keep our students and families safe. That's my answer to that. So mask up and yes, abide by the rules. Just one of the comments, I was wondering, when my kids graduated, 8 tickets, that's a lot of tickets, right? And so I was just wondering, don't send me any emails. Should we be cutting that down a little bit? Because that's like college numbers pre-COVID, 8 tickets.
Back at that time, we were inside in the gym for the majority of the graduations, which were limited.
And that's fine if you can handle that and you have it all taken care of. Because the only thing that I'm concerned about is that, we have 3 hours, but you have that cleaning thing that you got to do in between. So I was just wondering about that. But that's
about 80. It's about 80 to 90 graduates per session. But like I said, 600 to 700 adults.
I just don't know. Stafford is one way in, one way out. So and you know that. You've been there. All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Ms. Randall.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols. One of the things that parents really enjoyed, I think even last year in the COVID year, was their ability to access their graduates to take photos. Is that going to be, or how will that be handled? I mean, I know there's someone who takes their photo when they come down, but obviously, some parents want every step across, up and across and down. Yes, me, that was me. So I would just want to know how pictures would be handled. And then the second part was, in the past, the 8 tickets, some people don't need all those tickets. And so they could give to others that may need more. Is that allowed? Or are these tickets only 8 tickets? If you don't use them, nobody comes for them.
Again, that's where we go into that total capacity and depending on the size of the parties. And it's an unknown. It's a variable we don't know right up front. And taking that right now, the principals, they really feel that at this point, it's to start with the 8 tickets per family, and then we'll go from there at this point. And I would just, I can't say that, they're going to have extra tickets because we don't know.
Oh,
But
I don't mean extra.
you-
I mean, like, if say I got my 8 tickets and Holly had her 8 tickets and she needs 2 more and I only needed 4, could I give her some of my extras if they're for that same ceremony? They're like the 8 a.m. If we're both on the 8 a.m. ceremony. And
That's where I said extra tickets. I don't know if there'll be extra if I only use 4 for this family. And I mean, I don't know what families might do once they get their tickets. But in order for us to say, well, we're going to get Ms. Chase or Dr. Chase, extra tickets, but then I have, Ms. Hollerback comes back and I don't have any extra tickets. It does create some issues at some point. And so we're trying to be consistent and fair and, again, we're going to pass those out to the students. They'll give their tickets to their students. And I know because in graduations past when we were indoors and many years, and I know that there are students that might only need 2 tickets. And they might give their other 2 because we might have only had 4 or 5 to somebody else. But that might not have been handled by the school specifically.
And pictures?
Pictures, yes. Again, part of the guidelines is to move people in and out so we can clean. We probably will not at this point have picture stations where they'll go up to the stage and things because, as you said, we got to maintain 10 feet social distancing. We have to move people out so we can clean for the next ceremony. I do know some schools have already planned some of these opportunities for their seniors, and they'll be coming forth school specific. But pretty much all of them in our conversations, even today, they are going to have activities for some seniors following the social gathering guidelines, small event, things of that nature. But as far as at the ceremony, you have to maintain, and each school is a little different on how I've watched different how they do pictures during the ceremony. But again, you got to stay, it's just a different environment for us.
Dr. Chase. Go ahead. So yeah, I'm in agreement with Ms. Randall about I never needed 8 tickets for any of my graduations, and I would hate for us. I've seen other families that have 12 people that need to come or want to come, and so I hope we can try to make that possible for families because I would certainly not begrudge somebody my tickets if I had extra tickets. A question just about. You have this procession. Typically at graduations, we have the band there. So is the band going to be there? What are the precautions for that? Would the band be there for 6 graduations? What have you all thought about for that?
Principals have talked and communicated with their chorus directors, band directors, and right now they feel it's a great opportunity for them to play at graduation. The guidelines do require that they maintain 10 feet social distancing as they're playing. And also as they're singing. And one of the things that they've come back with is that their seniors have been like, hey, this is cool. I'll actually be able to play for my friends. So it's been a neat experience and also with the chorus. So it's been a positive in that regard. But yes, they are planning to have the band and chorus. And as of right now, they feel very strongly that they'll have their kids for all the ceremonies.
Hold on.
One more.
Let me let Dr. Chase finish and then we'll pop over. So the other thing I forgot was at the graduations I've been to, diplomas are handed out after graduation. So what's the plan so that students actually get their diplomas? Because during the call-up, usually they're just given a piece of paper with their name on it.
Well, the fact that we're going 80 to 90, what the principals are planning to do is that they will have the diploma in the cover. Again, to limit the kids going back into the school to get something. The kids, when they finish, we're going to recession out. They'd go to their cars or their family cars to leave at that point. Again, that's part of the logistics because with these graduation, the day before graduation, you have counselors making final determinations on. Sometimes it might be a change in diploma status. It could be seals, things like that. So there's a lot of logistics in the last 72 hours before graduation getting it ready. And this, we feel we'd really like to have the diploma inside the cover to make it a little more special.
Ms. Healy.
What is the plan for the students to gather before the ceremonies? Traditionally, they're in the classrooms and they meet in the cafeteria and then march out. Are they going to be in the school or would that be outside?
Again, each principal is probably going to do it a little differently, but I can tell you the gist from several that they're going to meet. The kids will come into the gymnasium where they will have the same amount of chairs set up in the gym, socially distanced, where kids will go to their spot. And then from that point, they'll line up, and they'll leave that area to march out, proceed to the stadium with distancing in between them.
And then I have a question about the band and chorus. I think it's great to have them, but the question that was raised 6 times in 2 days may be a bit much for some of the students. Is this going to be mandatory or optional for participation of those students?
They have been asking the kids to participate. But if they do not choose to participate, you're right, they won't be there.
So there's no penalty that will be assessed against them. And to the extent possible, I think we should try to have consistency among the schools with respect to the procedures, because we don't want to have someone in one school be treated differently than, you know, students in another school. I'm not saying they need to be cookie cutters, but just generally, I mean, I'm for discretion, but in something like this, I think we want to give the equal opportunity to students no matter what school they are graduating from.
I totally agree with you, and that's what we've, as a group of 5 principals and myself, that's what we've agreed upon. There might be a little difference in their order of service, but like I said, ceremony, but like I said, we're going to have those basic parts in there. Some have 2 speeches, some have 3 speeches. Some are going to do 1 speech at each ceremony, twice. But there's some little differences in that regard. But as far as the procedures, people coming in, having event staff to take the folks up to their seats, to exiting, to the band, the chorus, we're going to be consistent.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me, Dr. Warner, did you have a question? Okay, just want to make sure. Ms. Young.
I just had one more, Dr. Nichols. So I think usually, you know, you have officials, board members, board of supervisors. I'm willing to give up my seat if you need that spot. And so unless, you know, you want me there, I'm not speaking for anyone else.
I appreciate that offer, but I can tell you the principals, we've all talked and said, you're more than welcome to come to the ceremony. They just need to know who's coming at which ceremony, and we will be socially distanced. They won't be sitting on the stage like we normally do. You might have a couple students, the principal, a lot of them said they're just going to have their diplomas, and then they'll be off to the sides with wings.
Yeah,
probably a little different setup than what we've normally seen, but
some parents want me there because I'm the only Black board member, and so they like to take pictures. But like I said, if there's someone at North Stafford that needs that spot, I'm willing to give that up. Yeah? Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, well, I have a few. Going back to the photos, since I did have a graduate last year and we did lots of different things, I'm sure one of the things that the principals wrestled with was the alphabetical listing. I'm sure that you did. Can you just reiterate, because that's going to be, I think, the question that's going to be asked, and I think you touched on it, but I think if you wouldn't mind just going through, I can see the logistics, so I understand, but I do think that's the question you all will mostly be asked. So let's just ask it tonight.
Right, and again, principals have been working with their senior class officers, their leadership team, their graduation committees, and they have posed some questions. And one that I thought that came back from another student says, you know, if we allow people to sign up, unfortunately, there are going to be kids that don't know who to sign up with, or the kids that just moved to Stafford County have never, because they're virtual, have never set foot in our school. Who are they going to sign up to walk with? So, you know, focusing again back on the social emotional wellness of all our students, it's a way in which we deal with you know, this issue to ensure that there's equity across within that graduation. And I think the other thing too is that one that a principal shared is what they've experienced this year and even last year when they were signing up for the individual graduations is when we have a language barrier and you have schools that have quite a few parents who do not speak English, it does create an issue. And he found that he had some families that were skipped, missed times just because of that communication. So really trying to focus it to keep it to where This is the group by the alphabet. They just feel, again with the logistics piece, it's big in a non-COVID year, but just trying to do it within COVID and meet the guidelines. And they did. They struggled with this. But at the end, they felt that this would be the best approach to pull off a top-rate ceremony in a pandemic year.
No, and I appreciate the explanation. It was just, I think that it's important for the questions that we will probably be given to hear that explanation, and that's why I asked, because I know that a lot of deliberation went into that decision.
Thank you.
Photo area, I know Ms. Randall and others were talking about when taking the pictures there. However, I will say probably one of my best pictures from last year, and it was taken by Dr. Kisner, I will say, was of my family with the background. For us, it was Mountain View. And that was, to be honest, it was really one of those great pictures. I would get concerned with bottlenecking there, but I hope that we do allow families, even if it's throughout the week, to be able to come and take those pictures, because to be honest, and Dr. Kisner knows it, it's like, it was the Christmas card picture, but it was, and it got to show, that. So I'm just saying, I hope we do allow those photo opportunities, but they may not all be graduation day, because we went over, I'm just giving personal experience. I don't always do it. We went over with and saw the signs and we stood by them and all of that. So I think also as part of the communication plan of trying to help families find ways that they can get those group pictures, because there are families, every student should be celebrated when they graduate from high school, but for some families that's even more special than others. So, okay, I'm going to do the question that I already know. We are also getting, questions about proms, picnics, award ceremonies. However, it appears that the executive order limits indoor to 50 people, and that's 50 people, not 50 students plus, and outdoor to 100 people. Really just to have you all confirm that, just so that it's addressed.
Yes, ma'am. We've had quite a few conversations on that. Everybody, I think, would like to have done something in that regard, but when we talk about it and we think about it and the social distancing requirements, and again, the executive order, and we got clarification came out last week again, that, anything awards which are not degree awarding, like a diploma, fine arts concerts, band concerts, award ceremonies, picnics, any school-related activity follows the social guidelines, which as of today, actually, Dr. Hummer asked again for me, the Virginia Department of Health, it is interpreted that indoors 50 people is 50 total people in your building. So that's sponsors, award, people giving the awards, students, parents, total of 50 can be in. And then outdoors, it is 100. But again, the thing that challenges us with the dancing is that is sometimes a lot more contact than the 6 feet social distancing.
I just figure I'm trying to hit the questions that we know tomorrow morning or tonight we will be getting.
But I will assure you that our principals are working to make this graduation special, just as they did in the past with different things to do for their kids. And they're really thinking outside the box with their teams to provide a special memory for the kids.
And it was accomplished last year, so I certainly take a shout out, at least I know, and I heard lots of great compliments. This last one is probably for Mr. Fulmer as well. As I hear about all of the accommodations, cleaning, probably extra people and staff that we are going to need to put on this event, these 6 events. To me, I think that has a COVID connection, and to the extent that either CARES Act or other funding is available, I have to defer certain to our...
We've had multiple conversations, and I think we're taking care of all those issues.
So I just want us to, make sure that that is what some of that funding, in my opinion, was made available to us to do, is the extraordinary things that we have to do this year. So if it is investing in additional, something to make those days special, I hope that we do use those funds towards that purpose, because that is part of it. And of course, most of that money has to be one-time money. And I think the graduation of our students is probably one of the most important one-time activities for many of them, because I know it was very special last year, and whatever we need to do there. So I just
Madam Chair.
think that, yes, Ms. Young.
Dr. Nichols, is there a way that we could put, like, I know we're asking a lot of questions, but is there a way that you could just put the questions, the most common questions that are asked, put them on the website, so that if parents are looking for a way to get answers, because not everybody looks at this, the meeting, and so they will get these answers knowing the word's going to go out tomorrow about graduation. And I'm sure they could call the schools and ask specific questions, but it would be nice to have it on the website somewhere.
Yeah, we started a graduation website there, place on our website that'll have the links for all the ceremonies, the press release, the letters that go out. We'll find a home for them also. So frequently asked questions, I think we can work on that.
Excuse me. Any further questions? All right, hearing none. Okay.
So you were saying that the awards, I can understand like the prom, but even like awards, could they not be done in a format similar to what our staff is accustomed to, in a concurrent, with maybe students present, parents be the dots, but you can turn your cameras on and be excited or something? Is there any way to do awards, either whether it be Honor Society or something? I mean, we have that technology. We're using it for our students. This is not a way that we couldn't use it to give our students an opportunity to receive an award that they've earned, especially as a year where homecomings and, big events and proms and things like that aren't there. But we can have awards with the students present and the owl in the room and the circle dots on the screen or what have you.
Yeah, I think you're going to find that's great information to share. We had long conversations today once shared the news that the 50 and the 100 are the 100 and the 50. And again, it's all spinning, trying to make it work to accommodate, all kids, so they can recognize kids and make them special. So,
And last year, the senior awards, I was amazed with what the technology staff put together to do all of those and presenting the awards within the strictures they had last year. So at least they had a training year, and I thought last year's was great. And so I know they've been thinking about how to honor, the students in the best way within these guidelines. So Ms. Hellerback, it's about you.
I was going to punt this, but since you brought up prom, we'll talk about it now and put it behind us for this evening so we can get on with the rest of the meeting. I just want to remind everybody that the graduating class last year, they got at least 6.5 months of school in, right? They had homecoming, they had football games, they had a bunch of stuff that they could actually feel like they were a senior and part of of the senior lifestyle. Some of the sports and whatnot. The class of 2021 hasn't had not a thing. And I was on Facebook all weekend and answering text messages from distraught parents. We have PTSOs out there, an army of them, ready to do whatever it takes to give these kids something special in lieu of a prom. I did a quick Google search before I left the office, and Pulaski County, Virginia, with the backing of the school board and the backing of the central office personnel, they're moving. They're calling it a non-prom. They're moving it to a lake, socially distanced. There's a school board member here quoted saying, we need to give our kids something, and we support this wholeheartedly. And I'm not just saying this because my son could care less about a dance, but all of these men and women that I've worked, I got here through the PTO, with the PTA, the PTSO, and I'm still part of that group. And I'm speaking for them tonight. And what I would really love to see is, instead of saying what we can't do, I'd like to see some suggestions on what we can do. Can we do some kind of event at Pratt Park? Each weekend we do something different on a Saturday or something, or maybe just leave it up to each of the high schools. It doesn't have to be on the school board or central office. we want to know what we can do instead of being told you can't do that or you can't do this. For instance, and this could be a rumor because it's not in writing, but apparently Culpeper County Schools is partnering with the Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff's Department is donating, I guess, DARE money that went unused to do a fireworks display for the seniors. So I would just like to ask that if there's any ideas out there, or if anyone can find out what we can do, and talk to our PTSOs and talk to our principals and everybody come together and see if we can't do something special for these kids. Because like I said at the beginning of the statement, they've had nothing this year. And I wouldn't be a good school board member if I didn't speak up for everyone that I was, chatting with this weekend. I feel for all of them, and I feel for the kids. So I would appreciate if somebody could come back with some kind of answer to that at next meeting. Thanks.
Yeah. I appreciate your comments, and as a former principal for many years, I understand and appreciate all those ceremonies and activities, and there's nothing better than being there celebrating those kids and those activities. It's great bonding. I can tell you that our principals, as I said earlier, they are working to create memorable experiences within what we can offer. So thank you for the suggestions, and they're not done yet, if I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing that I would like to, as a senior, that, I've graduated too, and they had full everything. But the other thing that was really not just impressive for the high school senior, but became somewhat of a really, just a really excited moment for younger kids was the senior walk at the elementary schools. And I know that something like that, maybe indoors couldn't take place, but maybe outdoors could. I don't know. But I was just wondering if that had been a thoughtful consideration, as well. Because the little kids enjoy it and the big kids feel like heroes. So it's just a kind of a encouragement for the little ones and an excitement for the big ones. I just wanted to mention that too.
All right. Ms. Healy.
I really appreciate that the principals are working on this and thinking, as you say, outside the box. I hate that expression, but I assume that means they're going beyond what would be the normal. But I want to back up Ms. Hollerback's request. And with this principals have a lot of brain power. They know their schools, they know their families, they know the community. So I would suggest that there be some sharing among the schools so that we don't just, you have some incredible idea at one school and another school might say, gee, if we had thought about that, we could have adopted it or adapted it or done something different. So, I would suggest that we consider, sharing this while there's still time to plan, and also to take in the suggestion that we enlist the support from, the PTSOs, the PTAs, and not just that, from the community, because all of our schools don't have the same potential resources, for, financial support. It varies. I mean, we have certain groups within schools that may have more contacts, but if we put this out, I think there would be a big support among our community, because as Ms. Hollerback said, this class has really been, disadvantaged from being seniors. So if there is something that we could do as a school system to support some kinds of activities, and it may not be certainly that we can have something for the entire class, but just like we're, dividing up the students for, 6 graduation ceremonies, we may have to divide them up for, potential events. And there really is not much time left, but if we could, as Ms. Hollerback asked, have any potential suggestions or recommendations or options, brought to us at the next meeting, that may be an opportunity for us to lend some support. I mean, this is something that is going to be, on the schools, but I really would not want to see some tremendous opportunity at one school that is not available somewhere else, because it wasn't thought of or considered. I mean, when I first came on the board, we used to have little competitions among the elementary schools on who had the the best bingos or the best carnivals or anything else. And we have evolved over the years that the PTOs and PTAs and PTSAs in the elementary schools, I know they all work together to share ideas. So I like to see something like that. And if there is something we can offer to our students, and it's not just our students, it's their families, because the families feel the pain as well from the losses that our students have suffered this year. And then this is we talked about the socio wellness, whatever the magic words are. I think that's been very, very difficult, on all our students, but probably most so with the seniors. And I think back when my daughter was a senior and the party was the big hit. I mean, the graduation where you're with your students and everybody gets hugs and, gets pictures. Well, we can't have any of that. But let's see if there is something we can have. And I certainly, am one that wants to stay within the guidelines, because I don't want to put anyone at risk or take that risk that we're, if we don't follow these guidelines, and if there were to be some negative, impact, from illness or something, I don't think that it's worth the risk. But there's got to be things we can do. But we've got to move fast, because there's not that much time left. Thank you.
All right, any more questions, comments? All right, hearing none, thank you, Dr. Nichols, and thank you to the principals for all the work I know that they have poured over for this project. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, well, we move from graduation to budget. So I was going to invite Mr. Fulmer up to sort of give us the big picture, or where we are in the budget process and what's coming up.
Good evening again. Since it's been several weeks since we've chatted budget and we're getting back into decision-making time, we wanted to give a quick update, a recap of what happened in the first few months of the year as we prep the FY22 budget. A little recap of the superintendent's budget, the school board budget changes, where we ended up on the school board budget, and then the changes that we know right now to the state revenue and some projections on the local revenue as the discussions are being held at the county. And then just really quickly, what's on the horizon in the next few weeks. Real quick recap on the calendar. Started the superintendent's budget back November, December, listening to principals and department chairs and department heads. In December, the governor's budget was released. Starting in January, or wrapping up in January, the superintendent presented to the school board his proposal. Immediately following that, school board held several work sessions, including a lovely Saturday. And then at the end of February, the school board approved their budget. What was in the superintendent's budget? Just the highlights. $10.1 million towards the teacher scale. That included a minimum 5% and then additional enhancements. We had the minimum 5% for the service scale, which was $2.5 million. Additional enhancements of 1.4 to try to work above the minimum and relieve the compression at the bottom of the scale for service scale employees. And there were 56 new positions. We also had non-compensation increases, which the emphasis on tuition assistance and education loan support. After much discussion, the school board made some changes to the superintendent's proposed budget. Primarily, the largest increase was to fully fund the service scale enhancement. It was a total increase of 2.9 for a total investment of $4.3 million. We added 4.6 social workers for the cost of about $350,000. The total adjustments were $3.25 million. The total increase in expenditures from FY21 to FY22, an increase of 6%, and that was $20.2 million. Jumping into the changes that have occurred since the school board approved their budget. The General Assembly took their final action. They affirmed the no loss funding that was in the governor's budget. There were some tweaks to that, mainly because other revenues went up, so they actually could reduce what the no loss funding was. They changed in the governor's budget. There was a funding set aside to do bonuses for all SOQ positions. The General Assembly changed that to a 5% compensation supplement. This was an increase of $5.7 million over what was in the school board's budget for revenue. So you can see in the little chart there, we were assuming about $7.5 million of a revenue increase for the state and the superintendent's and the school board's budget. After that, when the state finalized their budget, it was an additional $5.7 million. So now we have an additional $13.2 million over FY21. The county has been at work as well. They advertised their real estate tax rate at $1.01. As many of you are already aware, they cannot they cannot go above the 101 when they set their tax rate next week, but they can go anywhere below that. It's currently at 97 cents. At the March 18th Board of Supervisors budget work session, the discussion that was, the presentation and the discussion was about the projected local transfer, an increase over FY21 of 4.6. The county, or in the school board's approved budget, we were asking for 12.3. The county administrator actually had about $7.5 million. So they're looking at, but the county administrator's budget was assuming a $1 tax rate. The discussions, and I've got to reiterate that there's been no vote on this, and this is just the discussions they're having now, but wanted to share it with you so that we're prepared in a few weeks if that is the final action taken at the Board of Supervisors. Ultimately, it is a net decrease of the revenue of $7.7 million on our local transfer from what was in the school board's approved budget. But I'm going to jump really quickly to show you what the net impact is. We got additional state money, 5.7, decrease in the county transfer of 7.7 from what we requested. It now leaves us with a net deficit of only $2 million, and that's rounded. It's about 1.96, rounded up to a deficit of $2 million. I've already talked to Dr. Kisner. If this is, even if it changes a little bit, Dr. Kisner will bring a request at our next work session, and before you guys proceed with the budget, he'll have his recommendation on maybe what we can do there to close that gap of $2 million. So what's next on the horizon on this Friday, actually, the Board of Supervisors is having a budget work session. I plan to attend that to answer any questions on the school board's budget that they may have. April 20th, the Board of Supervisors adopts a tax rate. That's 1 week from today. That's when they'll also adopt the budget and identify what the funding will be for the school board. We have scheduled a school board budget work session next Thursday on April 22nd. And then we'll have a work session on the 27th, and then subsequent to that, at the board meeting, adopt the budget. And then subsequent to that, it's not on here because it is a little bit more at the department level, but finance, HR staff have already met multiple times working on, after April 27th, what's the next step, which is one, updating payroll records, but it's also getting contracts ready. That's the key, right? So our goal is to always adopt the budget as soon as possible so that we can get contracts out to potential staff and to existing staff so they know what their salary will be for next year. And we try to rein in those potential staff and try to fill as many vacancies as possible. As usual, I went through that quickly, so please let me know if you have any questions.
Are there any questions? Oh, Ms. Hollerback?
I have a quick question. Do we have any unforeseen or unaccounted for carryover money that could fill any of that gap, or is everything accounted for as far as carryover goes?
So in this budget, we already have, we're already assuming $1 million in carryover from FY21, which is what we assumed actually in FY21 over FY20. Because we're already projecting to have some savings, we know we can roll that in to the next year. So we're already assuming a $1 million carryover.
So then we're 1 million short. Or the 1 million's already been accounted for in this budget?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're still $2 million short?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, seeing none, we have our dates. So make sure everybody has those on their calendars of anything that you wish to attend there, even regarding the Board of Supervisors' upcoming meetings. All right, moving on to our citizen comments. This evening, we will have our traditional 3 minutes are allotted to each speaker, and speakers are encouraged to provide a copy of their comments to the board clerk. Speakers shall identify themselves by name and organizational affiliation if the spokesperson represents an organization. Speakers shall announce the purpose or topic of their comments. 3 minutes shall be allotted to each speaker. Chairman reserves the right to restrict the total citizen comment received at any particular meeting to a predetermined maximum number of minutes with the approval of the board. Citizen comment which is profane, abusive, or which threatens imminent physical harm shall be ruled out of order by the chairperson. Although the board provides the opportunity for citizen comment, individuals desiring to register complaints against division employees or programs, services, or activities may also utilize the procedures outlined in Stafford County Public School Policy 1113 called Public Complaints. I have one person signed in for this evening. Ms. Brown, if you want to come on up to the podium right here.
Is the mic on? I can't tell. Okay. I'm Dana Brown. I live at 41 St. Williams Way in the Rock Hill District. I'm here to talk about the class of 2021. And I really want to thank Ms. Hollerbag and Ms. Healy for their comments, because that's why I'm here. I am here to beg you, and I mean beg you, to do everything that you can for the class of 2021. And this is emotional for me because I am a mother of the class of 2020. I don't want you to send them off without proper closure from their whole life at Stafford County Schools. Their prom, their picnics, their senior walks, their yearbook signings, saying goodbye to their friends. Do it even if the prom has to be on the football field. Make it happen. Don't set them adrift like you did in my daughter's class. And don't let politics get in the way of this proper send-off. My daughter was from the class of 2020, and when she and her classmates went home from school for a short spring break after their last lunch block on a sunny Thursday afternoon last year, they had no idea they would never, ever set foot inside their school again. Not even for a forgotten sweater or a forgotten lunchbox. They were not allowed in. And they never got to say goodbye to their friends. Our superintendent deemed it just too dangerous, just as he said it was too dangerous for the kids to graduate in a 5,000-seat outdoor stadium offered to the school for free. He cited social distancing and gathering in large crowds as the reason. The governor, I believe, left it up to each locality, that would be you, to decide what to do about school and graduations. And I think you left it up to the superintendent. What was so ironic and so hurtful, very hurtful, was that the superintendent personally participated in large crowds and gatherings to make a political statement. So just to make this real for you, this is my daughter's prom dress that she never got to wear. This is her graduation gown. This is a picture from 2010. Every year, Dr. Stemple hangs up one of these pictures of the graduating class on his wall. The class of 2020 will forever be blank. Don't let the class of 2021 be another blank spot on the wall. Do what you can. Thank God Dr. Stemple was so good about graduation last year. He made it as special as he could, and it was really good, on the circumstances. That being said, just do what you can. It's too late for my daughter, but it's not too late for the other kids. And guidelines is a synonym for recommendation. Thank you.
All right, I will need to ask, is there any other commenters that were here? I don't think so. So I just want to do a double check. All right, well, thank you, Ms. Brown. So I will close public comments and move on to our board committee reports for our standing committees. Dr. Warner, start us off.
Thank you. I want to note that I am on the Head Start Policy Council, and for the last, first of all, the Policy Council does a good job. 1 week, a father complained that one of the meetings in a month, the father complained that he'd like to see more opportunities for fathers to be involved. And by the next month, not only had they organized a father's meeting, they had already had their first opportunity to get together. So Head Start does an excellent job, but they will be presenting their their application request for their grant application. And the Policy Council has been working over the last several months over many of these self-assessments and many of these other components in it. And I just want to say that I fully support their application, and I think they've done an excellent job. And especially considering the restrictions of COVID and how much of a challenge it's been, I think they have gone above and beyond in reaching out to parents and maintaining involvement of the staff and the families that's required as part of the process. And I think that's all I have on that. But they've done an excellent job. Thank you.
Any other board, Dr. Chase?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this week, every 5 years, the Commonwealth Governor's School gets evaluated, and so it's been going on this week. This afternoon, I, along with the other governing board members from the other participating counties, met with the committee to be interviewed. So that's ongoing.
Sorry about that. The Gifted Advisory Committee, we met yesterday. I don't want to give away what they're planning on doing, but they were working on the presentation, of course, and I wasn't sure if we already have dates for that. Yeah, okay, so I guess we need to make sure that they have those dates and who's doing what when. So they're working on that. Very dedicated group of educators, staff, parents, and young students. So they're very attentive, and yeah, we have a good time. So very inclusive group. Thank you.
All right, hearing no other committee reports, I will move to board member comments. Who wants to go first? I'll take volunteers tonight. Dr. Chase, you want to start us? I saw your hand at least move.
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank the principals for working so hard to come up with, the high school principals for coming up with a plan for graduation. Running 6 graduations in 2 days is no small feat, so I just wanted to recognize that. I want to thank Principal Roman at Rocky Run Elementary and Principal Butler at Park Ridge Elementary for giving me tours of their schools. It was really wonderful to see so many Stafford children really actively engaged in learning in the building, so that was lovely. I asked Dr. Kisner to provide all of us with the current and projected enrollment for next year. Mr. Fulmer shared that with all of us via email on March 31st. The current projections are that Rocky Run will be at 107% utilization capacity next year, and Conway, Moncure, and Park Ridge will be at 103% utilization. I gather that staff is exploring possible solutions. I look forward to seeing the superintendent's recommendations soon. I also noticed that Drew Middle School is projected to be at 102% design capacity next year. So I hope there's a proposal to provide Drew with some relief as well. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Young, go ahead.
Thank you. So I only attended, I did attend Park Ridge, also invited Dr. Chase to tour the facility with me. We had a great time with Dr. Jones, of course, just to look at what we had there. Simply because when I heard that one of the other elementary schools were occupied and had a high percentage of occupancy, I knew Park Ridge did, so I thought we could tour that. But I always remember it's all projection, so me too, I'm looking to see what Dr. Kisner is going to recommend. Last week, Monday, I help distribute lunches is something that I enjoy doing, even though the school may not be, or the district is not mine, but the students go to my school, Hampton Oaks. I thought it was fun on Easter Monday to just hang out, put a call into Miss Hollerback. She was on the line also. So I do appreciate everything that our school nutrition folks are doing, because the parents just love the fact that, you know, they're able to get food even when they're not on free lunch. It's a good thing, and I truly appreciate what they're doing. So that's great to know. That's all I have.
All right. Ms. Randall?
Thank you. I wanted to, first of all, I want to appreciate all of the schools that have allowed me to come visit. I've been able to visit 1 or 2 schools a week in my district and throughout the county. I had a really exciting visit at Brook Point High School, and they took me down, and of course, I used to teach there, so it was really fun to see my rooms that I used to teach in, but I got taken down to the carpentry lab, and they have some really cool equipment down there that he told me that I can practice with later. One is a simulator. So I've challenged Dr. Kisner to play with their simulator. I think I'm going to win because I'm used to handling larger equipment than he is. But while I was there, I asked the carpentry teacher if he could build me a coat tree, and I wanted to bring it in this evening. I can't lift it. It's heavy. But he built this 6-foot red oak with a beautiful staying coat tree. And he's like, just send me some ideas. And so I just sent him like an array of things. And I was like, I want something sturdy that when I hang something heavy on one side, it won't tip over. This is not going to tip over because, like I said, I can't lift it. And it's in the back of my truck out front. But anyways, what I also found interesting, and I want to thank Dinah here because he told me that she turned him on to building doll houses for the fire department so that they can practice the how fires burn in houses with the different ventilations and the pathways and things like that. So I really thought that collaboration was helpful and useful. And like I said, he's got some amazing equipment. So all thanks to Mr. Pavey at Brook Point High School. And I also want to thank Dr. Warner for coming to Ferry Farm. The renovation there is still ongoing. There's lots of challenges with it for sure. And I know Dr. Chase and Ms. Young and Ms. Healy attended the town halls there when Mr. McCosker was in the seat, and, you know, we're definitely involved with it. I know Ms. Hollerback was part of the committee that I was on for the renovation of it. And Dr. Warner came prior to renovation to see it and has seen it during renovation. And I know Ms. Hollerback was very interested in making sure Ferry Farm got what it was supposed to have. So I just want to thank my whole board for understanding the challenges that we're having and for taking an interest in going back, even during the renovation, to see what's happening and not happening. So I really want to be thanking that. And I know for parents, it's difficult because they haven't seen the inside of the building. Both the good, there's lots of good things in there too, lots of pretty parts. And there's definitely some challenges in there, and they haven't seen that part either. So I know they'll be excited to be able to come back in the building hopefully next year too. So I do want to thank the principals. Having talked with Mr. Hicks, it is, you know, he's a first-year high school principal, and I can tell you that Dr. Nichols and the other principals in their meetings, he feels very supported. He feels very unified in how they're going to do things. So, you know, I appreciate that he has that support, and that is honestly, when I've gone into the schools and I talk to the administrators, that's how the one good thing that is coming out of this is how much people are collaborating successfully with each other to try to solve some of these challenges, to make things better in their schools. And, it's fun when you walk through and whether it be elementary, middle, and high is always never smiling and what have you. But the little ones are definitely quite little energy bunnies in their seats. And so I just want to say, it's only happening because of how well our groups are coming together to make things better. So thank you to the admin teams and definitely the staff, because they are the wheels. So thank you.
Dr. Warner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Nichols and our high school principals for all the effort they're putting into graduation. I know this has been a challenging year, and I agree with Ms. Hollerbeck and Ms. Healy that we need to make sure that our class of 2021 has memories to take with them. They've invested a lot to get here, and I don't want them to be shortchanged. So if there's any way that the board can be helpful in planning or in implementing something, we're clearly willing to do that. I would like to, I had the opportunity this week to go to Shirley Heim with Ms. McGraw, and Dr. Jones and Mr. Greider. Dr. Greider joined us, and I just wanted to check in with Ms. McGraw and see how they were ready for the 20th when the students return to school. I was really impressed at how the students know the routine. They come in, they know what they're supposed to do, they know where they're supposed to go, they comply with the rules, they're wearing their masks, they're walking the right way, they're keeping their social distancing. And I felt much better knowing that I feel like they have this under control. They know what they're doing, and the teachers are ready, and the kids are ready, I think, to be back. I also visited Brook Point High School. I did not get a coachry, though. However, I was impressed with all the equipment that they do have, and the dollhouses, and the things that they're doing there that I think help really shape our tenant, which is the profile of the Virginia graduate. It really does offer them these links to the community and these real life experiences that I think are necessary. And I appreciate Mr. Roberts taking me on a tour, and I will have to go back and visit the wood shop again. I also do appreciate the opportunity to go to Ferry Farm. I think that this renovation is important. I think clearly there are many things being done really well there. It's nice to see the new library. It's nice to see the addition for the art room and the music room going up. I think that it's a renovation is a real challenge because there's so many things going on that seem like they're never going to be finished, and it is a challenge. I think that Mr. Freeman and his team are doing an excellent job, and I think that there's much more that we can do there, and I look forward to seeing how this progresses. Thank you.
Ms. Hollerbeck?
I'm going to keep it short. Some of the emails that I got this weekend included the question of when are we returning to our board chambers? Some of them would like to come speak before us. They feel like this is a little bit out of the way. They assume that most of us have been, if not all of us, have been vaccinated. I'm sure the staff has all been vaccinated. So do we have an answer to that?
Didn't I answer?
Yeah, we had talked about that we would be doing it at the next meeting at the end of April. So our next
end of
meeting.
April.
Mhm. So our 27th meeting.
So we'll be back over there on the 27th.
That is at least the plan, unless I hear something different from our
Well, you just
staff.
told everybody, so I don't have to do it.
No,
So-
we asked that question last meeting.
I'm sorry?
We asked that question last meeting. Well, you were on the
Okay,
screen.
I wasn't sure we got a complete answer,
Yeah,
but
we didn't get the answer.
and I wasn't sure it was public. I thought it was private conversation. Anyhow,
No, it
and the
was-
last thing I want to say is, hi, Dr. Kisner, because I know he's watching because he's crazy like that. So anyway, I just
So
wanted
we
to
should
say hi.
wave?
Ms. Healy?
Yes, and I'm wondering if he's texted Dr. Jones during the meeting. You don't have to answer that, but I see that smile. Yes, Dr. Kisner, I would have said hello earlier, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any FOIA issues, so we're all thinking about you. I just want to say I am really excited about going back to school 4 days a week. And I want to thank the principals and the staff for what they've done up to this point to prepare for that. I mean, it's just amazing. Dr. Greider was at a visit that Mrs. Banush, the Rock Hill representative on the Board of Supervisors, and the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, and I made to both A.G. Wright and Thompson. And just the arrows on the floor, or I looked at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody really talented put those on. And, you know, we actually talked to, you know, one of the, I think it was one of the teachers that had worked on that. And it took hours to get those, you know, those lines so the students know where to go. And, you know, the other board members have commented about, you know, how, you know, well, the students have adapted to the, you know, the new requirements. And it is really impressive, because I think when this all started out, there was a lot of angst about whether, you know, the students would be wearing their masks, you know, whether they would be, you know, in effect on good behavior. And I think that from what I've seen, it's been exceptional. And a lot of that credit I will give to the leadership of the principals and their administrative team and the teachers and the support staff, all of the staff all around, from the bus drivers to the custodians to the, you know, the cafeteria workers, the, you know, all the paraprofessionals. Everybody in that school is each of our schools is working together as a team, and I really appreciate that. I certainly don't want to go through another year like this, and I can't imagine any of our parents or our students want to go through. But somehow, you know, we're making it through, and I appreciate the proposals for graduation. I'm glad we're going to have something, but I am looking forward to seeing what comes back to us, Dr. Nichols, is you know, some potential plans, and if there is something that we as a board can do, or that we can ask the community to do. I think it was mentioned that the sheriff's office in another county, you know, helped partner. And I know we have such a good relationship with Sheriff Decatur and his office. If there was something that we, you know, would ask them for, I can't imagine they would say no, and our supervisors as well. So let us know what we can do, you know, to make this a special graduation for our seniors. And I know that there are many of our students who will never graduate, you know, from anywhere else. I mean, this is it. And this event is so powerful for families. I had no idea until I got on the school board, you know, how important this is. And to me, as a school board member, it's really one of the most rewarding days of the year to be able to see, you know, what's come to fruition after 13 years of our students, you know, going through schools, and the joy in the families and the pride, and, you know, how happy the students are, and saying goodbye. You know, it's hard. There's a lot of tears, both of joy and sadness, because they're sorry to go. But if there is something we can do, let us know. And you know, certainly I can't imagine that we wouldn't do everything we could to make it happen. So looking forward to going 4 days a week very soon, and even more excited about going 5 days a week starting in August. So that is the plan, as I understand it, yes. And I think there's a lot of families that are also looking forward to that as well. So thank you very much for everything. And I do wish the bus drivers particularly success in getting through, because of all the challenges, that has got to be one of the hardest. If you think back, when we traditionally start school, how many issues we have just with the coordination of the buses and the pickups and the schedules. And now we have to add social distancing and the limited capacity on the buses to that with all the runs. So Thank you very much in advance to our transportation people for all that you are doing to get ready and all that I know you'll do once we get there.
Thank you. I will close out our public comments or our school board comments and just notice how much tonight each one of us has said how important the staff is here in Stafford County, how special they are, how amazing they are, how creative they are. And I do hope that as we go into the budget session, as we move forward with whatever comes before us, that we keep remembering that. We want to reward those who have been here and have come up with these creative ideas, seeing our Teachers of the Year. We have an amazing school system. We have amazing students. We have amazing families who have been through an unbelievably difficult time. For a lot of families, the teachers have been a lifeline to them. So I just hope as we go forward, we just remember how much we do need to compensate and reward our staff for a difficult year. So that's my comment on the budget. Let's see, on a personal note, it was amazing, any of us who have had children in the schools, when you see a teacher that's up there on your Teacher of the Year and you chuckle and you say, oh yeah. So I am going to really go off script and say, I would love to do a shout out to Jessica Hall, who was not Jessica Hall when I first met her 6 years ago. I know there's children that are now hers that have come on board at AG Wright. She is a math teacher. I have not been silent and Charlotte, now that she says, you can talk about me now that I'm not in the schools, is not a math person. She struggled with math. I got a phone call after her first year of college, and she said, I have no more math classes. She was so excited. Now, I didn't break it to her, but anyway, I will tell you that Jessica Hall was an amazing teacher to a child who really struggled. So all those teachers that are up there, thank you. Because for every one of me who sits there and looks at Jessica, I'm sure there are lots of parents who look at some of the other people who were up there and said, I have that story. So on that, okay, I'll get off the sappy stuff. Moving on to my other favorite topic, growth. Dr. Chase very much highlighted two areas, our elementary and our middle school. And again, as we always say, is projections, but I will say I have really enjoyed the professionalism brought by Mr. White and Mr. Anderson and that team on our projections. I know they were very, very well received at the Planning Commission, and they have reached out to us on other topics related to schools to make sure that we are getting the proper proffers or other things. So I very much, but there was another school on there that was at over 100%, and that is Mountain View High School. That is projected for next year. So when we start talking about the need and such for high school 6, we need it, we cannot wait, and we need to move forward. Let's see. Okay, I hit my growth topic. I usually hit all of my topics, usually. And then just in closing, I'm going to just let everyone know that after almost 9 years on the school board, I will not be seeking to represent the citizens of Hartwood. And I do believe when we serve on the school board, we represent all students and families. We are from a district because that is great to have a primary person that you can reach out to. So I will not be seeking that. So I hope that the Hartwood residents rise up to become a member of the school board. What I will say to anybody considering being on the school board, so this is just your public service announcement, talk to talk to current school board members. All of us will talk to you. I remember talking to Ms. Randall. I talked to most anybody. Find out really what it's like. Come to a school board meeting. Join a committee, be involved in the committees, get an idea of what we do. Local leadership is one of the most important things I believe that you can do as a person in a community. So I am just encouraging people, school board positions are nonpartisans. Members do not run by party. So for certain people who have certain jobs with the government, I just want to make sure that you know that. That is by law. You will need to get 125. I'm looking at my fellow board members, at least 175 signatures of voters in your district. But again, talk to us if you have questions. All of us want you to succeed, because the job of sitting up here is just one part of the cogs that make the school system run. But it is an important part, and we always need community leaders to step in. So I hope that you will. And with that, we are going to move on to Dr. Jones and our superintendent comments.
Good evening. First, I'll remind you that I work for Dr. Kisner, so I will not reveal whether we've been texting. Not quite a year in yet.
We already know the answer, Dan.
But as my friend, I hope that he's resting. I hope that he's not engaged, but I doubt that, knowing what I know about him. Secondly, all of you have mentioned not only the Teachers of the Year, but also child nutrition staff. And I'll just share this observation. I'll say it this way. I'm humbled by the humility and the talent of our staff. If you listen to what the Teachers of the Year said, I'm just humbled by that. We have incredible staff here. So I want to congratulate both our nutrition staff and our Teachers of the Year. Regarding graduation, I'm just going to say two really brief things. First of all, I do have the opportunity to work very closely with Dr. Nichols, Dr. Grider, and Ms. Neely, as well as with each of our principals. And I'll just say that they are very collaborative in their approach. And I would say this on behalf of them. I think that what they're thinking about right now is kids spend 13 years or longer graduating. So it's not just this year, it's 13 years preceding this year that our principals are thinking about in terms of how we honor our graduates. So I anticipate that our principals will be very creative with how we honor graduates, not only at graduation, but at other ceremonies that may have to be virtual in nature. But I'm confident that we will find a way to really honor our graduates. And that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to our consent items. We have several.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comment or wish to remove any items from consent? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously on 9 consent items. Moving to our next item of action is our resolution regarding Old Moncure Elementary property. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve item
Second.
10.01.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions?
I have a quick question. I think Ms. Healy requested something on this item at the last meeting, didn't you?
Send via email.
Yeah, we got it.
Did you get it?
Sent via email.
Should be.
I had asked, what the delay was in it.
Right.
It was sent via
clarify?
email.
Did you get your answer?
Via email.
Well, I think the important thing at this point is that we're doing it and that we're conveying it and moving forward pursuant to the terms of the agreement. So I'll pass comment on the delay.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. There is action item regarding several policies we discussed last time at the request of the board. One was removed. Was that correct? Okay. So is there a motion regarding this one? Then we can have discussion.
Move to approve action item 10.02, proposed repeal and some policies and then revisions of others.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I'll just make a broad comment about the one that was removed, that there will be further discussion on that. We felt tonight we would
So-
focus on graduation and other items, but that will be coming shortly in line with growth and other items.
Are we going through them, or are we just blanket?
I'm sorry?
Are we going through them?
Not this evening. We had, how we had proposed the repeal and just they were listed and then the revisions.
Okay. I just had a question on 2406.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. This is discussion.
2406, I thought it appeared a little bit vague to me if we're going to keep this. It says, I think it says implement, develop. And so it's been since 2008. I'm assuming that we implemented something already and developed something. So I was wondering, are we pointing to what it is that we're doing? So in that document. So if we're doing something already with this, say we implemented something and we developed something, is there somewhere we could write and say, and point what it is that we're doing? Because it to me, it was kind of vague. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying here.
I think that, and
Madam Chairman, can we clarify which policy number? I missed that.
2406? Because the last date that it was looked at, it was 6/24/08. So it read, it said implement, develop. And so I was just wondering, should we just say implemented and developed, and whatever it is that we implemented and developed, to either attach it to it or point to where it is that whatever it is that we're doing. That's all I'm saying. Like, it made it seem like we're still trying to implement something. That's all. There it is.
If I could just, and Ms. Boatwright, you can, when it said required review of certain policies, if there were no changes that needed to be made, it was my understanding, I believe, Ms. Boatwright, that then at the bottom of that 2406 would have that we had reviewed that policy, so we could check that box that it had been reviewed on a periodic basis. Is that helpful?
It does say it.
Right, when it says reviewed by school board, that tonight's date will be put at the bottom of there, because they're trying to do a 5-year review, or if there's usually a change in the law, then it gets reviewed immediately.
So can I just, so the policy is supposed to be sort of a broad policy, is that right? So the superintendent, those policies implementing and developing may change over the course of the 5 years. Is that what it's saying? Is that, okay, I'm just saying
it says develop regulations. I'm wondering, do we have regulations?
We do. We do.
And so instead of saying shall develop, should we not just say we developed the regulation and point to where it is that we have it? Because I just think, to me, and that's why I said it, I looked at it, was vague. If we already did something, we have regulations.
But they could change. So I think it's a 5-year policy, and so the idea is that, for example, the state could come out with something that requires us to change the truancy policy for some reason.
So basically, you're saying that's the language to continuum?
Continuing, yes.
Ms. Healy, is that what you understand? Michelle? Do you understand that?
That just gives the flexibility, because as you say, certainly policies have been developed and they have been implemented, but this gives the flexibility to make changes to those policies. And I think this year is a good example. I would think with the virtual schooling and COVID that we've had to look at this attendance policy, somewhat differently than we have in the past. So I think that's a good point that you're making, that, certainly, we don't want it to appear to someone that we haven't done anything, over these years.
Yeah. Okay. I have one more. So 2503, it says that it talked about the yearbook. And so I was just thinking, do we have something that, because now we have social media. Like I said, this is 2008. Now that we have social media, do we have a separate one for social media, or is that specific just for the yearbook? And we have something else for social media, then that's fine. But I was just wondering, if we're looking at these things, should we consider these things or just leave them as is? Okay, okay.
Is, Madam, the issue that we had with some people taking photos during sporting events and there were complaints about it and, you know, they were being sold, and I think this was put in there to try to address that. It's been a few years since we had that issue. We certainly don't have that this year.
I think it's also going to consistency of senior backgrounds. That's how I read this, was that everybody's was to be of a somewhat uniform type.
Okay. One more. Sorry.
Go ahead.
2504 and 2505. I think, unless my eyes deceive me, that they are the same. They both say homebound, and then again, the same thing like in the yearbook. I was wondering, does this include the virtual? Does this include virtual, or this is just strictly for homebound, like special needs? Is that, we're just trying to get clarification on that one. $25.04 and $25.05, they appear to be the same, but maybe it's just me. Maybe I pulled up the same one. I'm just checking. You go to 2505 and see if it's the same one.
Because 2505 was to be repealed.
Right, one is repealed.
Repealed,
Right.
but they were the same, right? Were they not the same? Two of them were the same, 24, 25?
2505, this information is addressed in the regulation that accompanies 2504. So there was no reason to have the separate policy.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so you were right in that it was the same.
Okay. And then just a clarification on the 2404, that anti-bullying one. Didn't we create like a policy for anti-bullying? Like we have another policy also, right? That we worked on like 2019, 20. No,
That would have
okay.
been before me, but that's the policy that we have, and we also have our student code of conduct.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes.
I just want to point out for the record that the one that is not here is the policy that the proposal was to increase by 100% the number of students, or perhaps with Dr. Chase's interpretation, much more than that, depending on how many schools are involved, the authority of the superintendent to unilaterally make decisions about reassigning students. And I would suggest that it is imperative that we have a work session and give opportunity for public input on that before we consider making any changes. I know you said that it would come back at another meeting, but I think we need a lot more than that. I mean, most of this policy is pretty routine, or we're keeping up with the state law, or we're making changes that, that we've experienced the need for change. But something like that to me is significant, and that's in my view, it's the school board's responsibility to make those decisions with ample opportunity for our constituents to weigh in and give us feedback. And I'm right now I can't think of an instance where I would be inclined to so significantly increase that authority. Now, those decisions, are fairly permanent. I mean, how many reassignments have we actually undone? I can't think of any. When we had these redistrictings, that have been undone. And for me, as a school board representative, I would not appreciate a decision being made. Not that I don't respect the superintendent and the superintendent's knowledge and experience, but if my constituents are going to be moved from a school that they're at to another school, I want it at a minimum, give them a chance to be heard and to consider what options are available. Now, the 5%, I mean, I was here when that policy went in, and I understand that. And I know that there may be some instances where we just experienced, you begin a school year and there's a huge increase in one particular school, and there's a neighboring school that has some, excess capacity, and the decision can be to move them. But right now, that 5% is a moderate amount. If we increase that to 10%, to me, that would, that could potentially involve a whole subdivision or, a significant amount of the public. So I'm going to, really want to hear the basis for that proposal. And, I just can't imagine that I'm not going to want to, fight for the input from the community on any significant redistrictings. And I would say that 10%, of the schools involved population is significant. So I don't want to say we'll just bring it back at another meeting and talk about it then.
So I thought the one that we pulled out was the DMV one. Was I mistaken about that one? Huh?
No, that one's here.
Yeah, you were quick to tell me I was mistaken. But 5%, 10%. So you want the 5% individuals, you don't want them contacted, but you want the additional 5% contacted. I mean, this is a rule we have, and yeah, we could have a work session about it, but we also need to trust and not micromanage our superintendent and the staff, that they're going to do what's right for the community. And I'm sure they are going to connect with the public, but we could have a conversation about it, not tonight.
Right. But that 5%, just for the record, that's really pretty much intended to be on an emergency basis.
There's still parents.
It's not just any time the superintendent wants to move 5% of a school, they can do that.
Yeah, I know I moved 5% of a community that wanted to be moved, and they were very, very happy. And we did have a public meeting, so we did appreciate that. But they were a very happy community to be moved where they thought they belonged all along. So that was a good thing to have that community meeting.
So the board will be having further discussion on that to look at all aspects of that for communities that want to move, that don't want to move, and sort of look at all those, especially as we all have to remember, we are in a growth community. So we do come at this with that perspective. But that one is not on the table tonight. So is there, we have had a motion to approve and a second for the policies that were referenced. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our next item is our...
Madam Chair, may I say one thing? I would also like to let the board know that I've asked Lisa to go ahead with the next series when she's able to. So she'll work on it for a little bit, take it with Dr. Kisner, bring it to governance, and then it'll come back here. So just so you know that this is something that we're ongoing.
The decision. Can you tell us what the next series is and the decision to go to the next series, or we just go in number?
In number order.
Okay.
So we did 1,000, 2,000. So we'll go on to the next one.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
And this is something we are required to do in general. So it's just trying to help with the process. So, all right.
Our job is to do policy, right?
Mm-hmm. Our first information item is regarding our career and technical education local plan and budget. And I will look to Dr. Strike and Ms. Robinson. There are any opening comments, or give us the big picture, if there's anything. Mm-hmm.
'22 school year. This is an annual application for federal funds as provided by VDOE in compliance with the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act. The plan allows for expansion and improvement of CTE programs at the local level as required by federal regulations. This year's plan must be approved by the school board for Stafford County Public Schools and submitted to VDOE by April 30th in order to receive federal funds. We do not have the new Perkins funding allocation yet, Therefore, the numbers used in the budget sections are identical to last year's. VDOE instruct us to use last year's numbers until the new ones are released, which is usually around the end of April, the 1st of May. We do the same with the list of names for the advisory committee. We update these in the fall. Other than a few minor changes for clarity, this is essentially the same plan as last year until the new budget allocations are released. If you have any questions at this time, I would be glad to answer them for you.
Are there any questions from board members?
Yeah, I just noticed that you've requested that we move this to action, and I just was curious why.
Just because when you're dealing with Omega, sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not, and it's a process I have to go through, and I have to get all the approvals by the 30th as well in the Omega system.
All right, any comment?
Yes, go. So the only numbers that need to be updated are the ones that have not yet been released by the VDOE.
I'm sorry, I had trouble.
I'm sorry. So there are numbers that still have not been released from VDOE that you have to update this application, but other than that, everything else remains essentially the same.
That and the
From
advisory
next year.
committee names.
Okay.
So
So would you
I'll
like us
move
to move
to,
1101 to action?
and I'll second.
All right, any discussion about moving this item to action? Ms. Healy?
I just have a question. Have you received any comments from the members of the public with respect to this plan?
We took it to the advisory committee in March, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no additional comments.
Okay, thank you.
All right, on our motion to move to action. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there a follow-on motion?
Is it a motion to?
Yeah, move to approve 10.03.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions?
I would like to say that I'm part of the CT advisory, and she did go through this document fully with all the members present and commenting and questioning. So I appreciated her time and effort that night.
Thank you.
Have a comment?
Yes.
CTE has been my home for the past couple of years. I'm sorry I moved on to Gifted right now, but I do miss you all. I will be happy to approve this.
All right. Hearing no other comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and it is approved. All right, moving on to then now our first item on information is regarding our Stafford Head Start and Early Head Start. I know Ms. Massey is here, and come on down or up.
Or sideways.
Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Jones, and hopefully Dr. Kisner.
Ms.
I
Massey, if
appreciate
you
the
can move
opportunity.
that mic a little closer to you so you can.
Sorry. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all tonight and bring this before you. As you know, that this is required annually by the federal Head Start government and performance standards that we bring training before you and information before you as a board. And so we try and do it all in one fell swoop, which is why you're looking at all of those things tonight. So what we have is $2,253,868 in Head Start ongoing training, $25,992 in training and technical assistance funds, and $27,497 in COLA funds for Head Start. We have $443,572 in early Head Start ongoing, $9,766 in training and technical assistance for early Head Start, and $5,412 in COLA for Head Start. We also got notification, which does not require board approval, for $83,970 in COVID response funding that was additional to what we received last year. This was approved by Congress in December. We're supposed to get another amount as well in COVID response funding, and that has not been determined yet what that would be. So see if I can figure out how to use this. What I want to do tonight is to go through and show you some updates. Let's see, I don't know how to do this. I'm sorry? I am. Okay. Advance the slide, please. Okay. So this was our theme this year, that every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they can become the best they can be. And I just want to give a shout out to our assistant principals over here who put together this PowerPoint for you all tonight. Amanda Durazio and Abigail Martinez.
Thank you for coming tonight.
So our goals are for the coming school year. These were the results of self-assessment committees that came before Policy Council and presented their reports, and then Policy Council drafted these goals. And those self-assessment reports are in that long application as well. And so just very quickly, again, replacing the parking lots at the Melchers Complex, establishing a community garden to do a roadmap from the farm to the table for the children, to replace HVAC units at the Melchers Complex, to replace a roof at North Star. As funds become available, purchase additional school buses with the built-in child restraints, replacing needed cafeteria equipment, providing transportation for early Head Start, and renovating the Melchers building, including electrical and plumbing, or building a new facility, or adding to the facility in North Stafford as funds become available. Our second goal is to increase student success in kindergarten, with 100% of the students demonstrating growth in vocabulary development and written expression, 100% of our early Head Start demonstrating growth in communication skills, 100% of all of our students demonstrating growth in number concept, self-regulation, and creative thinking. 100% will have physical and dental exams and develop healthy habits. 100% of our parents will engage with their children in early literacy and math, and that has really happened this year. Assist paraprofessionals to obtain at least a CDA, provide transition training for our pre-K and K teachers, which we do annually, continue hiring minority staff and bilingual staff to better represent our student community, and to provide comprehensive curriculum training for new staff, special needs, and handle with care training for all staff, develop a curriculum map and increase project-based learning opportunities, and offer informed training for all, informed training for all the staff. Provide additional mental health coordinator, school social worker for support at each early childhood education center. And I'm happy to say that you all have that in the budget at this point. To provide additional paraprofessional staff to the classrooms. And that is actually coming from we were able to do that with our new COVID response funding. And if funding is available, expand the program year in all of our classes to 180 days. Currently, our 3-year-old classes go 160. And if funding is available, to expand our Head Start and early Head Start programs. Goal 3 is training for the school board, which is happening tonight, Policy Council, the director and coordinators and staff, and parents. These student demographics are last year's demographics, which are in the annual report that you all received a copy of tonight. And we are still accumulating numbers for this year that we're in right now. A lot of the pictures in that annual report were before COVID, BC. Last year, we had 17 students that needed glasses, and we had 94 children that were overweight or obese, and we worked with the families providing nutritional information and information on exercising with our registered dietitians who are funded by Stafford Hospital Foundation. One of the things I was very pleased with is even in the middle of our COVID response last year, our family outcomes showed more growth than usual. in all of these areas. You can see the difference between the blue and the red was much higher than in previous years. So we're very excited that our family services staff continued their hard work with families over the phone, dropping off items at their homes and things that of that nature. Our parent involvement figures, most of these were before COVID isolation, but not all. And then this is the VKRP testing that is done in the fall in kindergarten. This is from this current fall that we just, this school year. And so you can see that our former Head Start and former early childhood special ed students, which also included the peer models that did not have IEPs, and then the former VPI students, you can see their results as well as those students who had no preschool. Ms. Martinez found this report that, again, tells the importance of why you all support our program, and we appreciate it, that students in Georgia were more than twice as likely to meet their academic standards on the math test in 4th through 7th grades if they were enrolled in the state's pre-K program. And the key is access. Social emotional learning has been a big focus with our program this year. We had a social emotional committee that met this past summer virtually, and they they integrated all of our curricula for social emotional and developed a scope and sequence of teaching that. And then we just finished a pre-K transition workshop where we shared what's happening in pre-K as well as what's happening in K. And, we're really excited about the fact that we're able to align a lot of what we're doing. And let's see if is there a way that you can show that video? What this little girl is doing is that we have a greeting every morning, and usually it involved handshakes or high fives, but this year the students were given a choice of non-contact ways to greet. In this video, which I can't somehow play, but that little girl ended up choosing a curtsy. So the teacher and the child curtsy. But we also spend time every morning talking about how they feel. And if you look in your annual report, the last picture in there is a little girl showing her feelings because you can't see them behind her mask. And so then this is part of your training for tonight, your program governance appendix that talks about their legal and fiscal responsibilities that the school board has for the program, and then what the responsibilities of policy council are, which are to approve and send forward to the board many of our policies and procedures. So those are listed there for you. And then there's an impasse procedure that if there was a situation that required a difficulty between policy council and the school board, again, with the understanding that the school board has the final say. We're also required to give information to you about our ERSI process, which is our eligibility, recruitment, selection, enrollment, and attendance. And so just to be aware that there are guidelines. The ones on the left talk about how you're eligible for Head Start by being income eligible at 100% of the federal poverty guidelines, or we can accept 10% of our population can be over income. And then you can be categorically eligible for Head Start regardless of income by receiving TANF or having a foster care child, and SSI and homeless. And then categorically eligible for VPI, you can be up to 200% of the federal poverty, so twice the Head Start, and then all of those characteristics as well. This was the first year we had a pilot VPI early childhood special education class at Rising Star and 2 at North Star. And so we've been able to get some extra funding through the VPI state funding for those ECSE classrooms. And that's been a pilot year in all these difficulties. It's also been difficult to meet the state hourly requirements, but our teachers have done a fantastic job with that. And we are very excited to continue that next year, thanks to our special education department and their support. This is the front page of the application for Head Start and VPI. And then these are the local criteria developed out of our community assessment that give our families points. So you can be eligible for the program, but there might, which not this year, because we have been not fully enrolled, but in a case where we are fully enrolled and there's a waiting list, how do we rank the most needy on our waiting list? And we use these points for that. So you can see the points in parentheses. So again, just knowing these come from our community assessment. For instance, in Stafford, we don't have a great system of public transport. So not having a vehicle gets you points because that's important to be able to get a good job and to meet your needs. So again, this is the website for all things Head Start, including all the policies and standards, if you would like to look at those. These are pictures from this year of teaching virtually, which we started with the summer program and have continued all year, August 31st on, and we have had, to date, no cases of transmission in either one of our schools. So we're very excited about that. In the center, what our Teacher of the Year from North Star, Teresa Ramirez, designed a template for our Canvas classroom. And this template, all of those objects are clickable, and when you click on them, they take you to a learning activity. So if the child clicks on the letter C up at the top of the room, it takes them to signal and sounding the letter C. So there's all kinds of things. There are books there. You click on a book, it takes you to somebody reading the book. So it was a very interactive classroom for the children to use on Canvas. And then the little schoolhouses were the actual asynchronous assignments that the children had to do. And again, I want to thank the school board and central office for all of their help with our Thanksgiving dinner. You all delivered meals, we put meals in trunks, and we served a record number Thanksgiving dinner. So I want to thank you all for that. Any questions?
I do. I have one.
Ms. Young, start us off.
Thank you so much for this work that you've been doing for these students, these little children. So I appreciate you and your staff working hard to do this work. I'm very excited to hear that you said that you are increasing the diversity of your staff. That's great.
We work on that every year.
Yeah, I know, it's hard. And so I was just wondering, I know one of the questions I've asked you in the past is that have we been using new opportunities to increase the way how we're finding our students? Because I know you have a waiting list, but I just wanted to know, have we been able to update the way how we were just trying to go to a doctor's office, for example, because we know that some of these parents don't go to a doctor. So I was just wondering.
We have been, and our recruiting staff have been hard at work trying to find every avenue to reach our children, and we've put out flyers in different places than we've done before, and all kinds of things that we're trying to do that. So we welcome every opportunity, and I have to say Sandra's office has been fantastic in helping us get that word out as well.
Yeah. And the other question I had was, I'm surprised that you did not ask for this to be moved for action, and the fact that you had this long application that you have to fill out.
It's due May 1, so you all have time to review it and look at it.
Okay.
But you're welcome to move it to action if you would like to.
Would that help you if we were to move it to action tonight? I know that
It's
the
just up to
policy
you.
council went over this
mean,
application pretty extensively at our last meeting on the, I think it was the 24th of March. And we don't meet again until, the policy council doesn't meet again until the 21st.
I mean,
Um,
I would want to move it to action for you. I mean,
I'm just wondering if Ms. Massey, if that would help you, if it would benefit you for us to do that, given that the next meeting here is until the 27th, you wouldn't have a lot of time to get this turned in before May 1st.
I'm used to that, but we're welcome. Again, it would make my life easier, so yes.
Ms. Massey, can the board did the policy council already approve it, or will they approve it? Okay, that was my main question. I didn't want us to be.
The policy council has already approved it. We
Okay,
went
that's
through it
what I-
extensively on the 24th, and it was approved.
That's what I just wanted us to be clear on that, because we didn't want to be ahead, having.
She's served on us before. She knows all the ins and outs.
Are there any other comments or questions for Ms. Massey? Go ahead, Ms. Healy.
I just want to thank Mrs. Massey. I think you're amazing. What you
thank
do
you.
for our community and the students and, everyone. And I know it was a challenge to open, North Star. And I think it's just benefited so many families, although it's made it, so much harder for you, to have to operate at two sites. But cutting down on those bus runs has been incredible.
It's been well worth it. And I just have to say, what makes our program great are all the great people that you met, one of them tonight on screen, Ms. Wright. But I have two fantastic assistant principals who are able to really help with running those two schools. So it's the staff that makes this program, and they're awesome.
The family outreach is excellent, too. It's just amazing what they do to get materials to the students and to the families and to help with in any way that they can, I think, to help them reach services and access services that they need. It's just really been incredible, especially in the year of this pandemic, how much they've had to do to deliver these things in different ways and to reach out to families more directly.
And I'm looking forward to next year being able to once again come together with you and the staff and serve the meals to the parents. And I suggest, even though Mrs. Hazard isn't going to be here, we need to give her a special invitation to come. And maybe she can put us together with her caterer, who always does such a good contribution to.
We're not going to let you get out of this.
That's right. But anyway, thank you, Mrs. Massey. And I was mentioning to her before the meeting began that Mrs. Massey is really an institution where the federal Head Start program is concerned. When those examiners come to Stafford County and look in our program, I don't think she's ever gotten less than an A, and it's usually an A++. What she does in the program and how she reaches out, and the success of those students is remarkable. But we're blessed to have you and your leadership and your staff here in Stafford County. And even though we're constantly reminded what a wealthy community we are, we have a significant population that is far from wealthy and that qualifies, for that Head Start. And what you offer them puts them on a better footing to start once they get into the kindergarten. So thank you.
Thank you. And if you look through the application, the community assessment in there will show you that the poverty is rising in our county. Thank you very much for your kind comments.
Any other comments? All right, I have a couple, of course, As we try and get the word out, going to Ms. Young's point, because this is the first year, I know we have not had a waiting list at Head Start. Usually every year we have the waiting lists and everything. Is getting that word out that we are going back to 5-day instruction, I think is probably very important, which I'm sure as part of your advertising, I know how you all work through that. But I do think that is something that we really can emphasize for those parents, because it was, a very difficult year. I was wondering, and we always talk about, as Ms. Young even alluded to, where are additional places we can meet. And I'm wondering if, I know that our food, we partner a lot or have a very good relationship, I guess I'd say, with like Food Security Network and some of those feeding programs. maybe having some of those either brochures or seeing if I know they can't answer the questions, but perhaps having them available. And many of our churches and other civic organizations doing their feeding programs, many of them ask, what can they do? And perhaps that would be something we can pursue. I know your staff does such a great job. And Angel.
Yeah, we have been talking with Stafford Food Security about participating in their neighborhood events as a recruitment effort.
That's great. And Tim's always great to
He is.
to work
He's
with.
awesome. He helped. I personally was contacting him last year when we were in the middle of the really lockdown, and he was so helpful to our families.
And then just, I know something that you always talk about too, but some of our supporters of the Stafford Hospital Foundation and the Potomac Hospital Foundation, those grants that they every year provide such great services to Head Start. And just want to shout out to our community partners because, we never can do this alone.
They have been so supportive for decades. So.
Yes, exactly. Again, and thank you, Ms. Massey.
Thank you. And just FYI, the federal government did issue a directive that Head Start would be 5 days a week next year.
That's right. Great.
We want to move to action?
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay, yeah, move to action 1102, which is now 1101.
Second.
Head Start, early Head Start.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to move the application forward. Any discussion regarding moving it to action?
I just echo what another board member has sometimes commented on in the past, which is, if staff has not explicitly asked us to move things to action, and it's not really allowing us the time to process, it's not allowing the public, I don't know that the public would, but to take a look at this and make comment if they wish to. So I think we're perhaps getting into the habit of moving things to action preemptively and not allowing the deliberation that perhaps we should be doing on some things. Not that I necessarily think that this is an item that's particularly controversial.
All right. Ms. Healy.
I want to say I agree with Dr. Chase generally, but in this particular case, I'm going to support moving this to action because the Head Start Policy Council really is who I look to, for input on this. And as Dr. Warner has told us, they've, approved it. And Mrs. Massey, more than anyone I know, is open to listening to any suggestions or anything, that want to be brought forward. But I do say I do agree with Dr. Chase, and over the years I've been the one to say, why didn't you get it to us sooner? You get it to us at this last minute, and then you ask us to move it up. But in this case, I think because Mrs. Massey, is such a trooper, she didn't ask us. She'd be there scrounging, the last 3 days of the month to get this together and get it in. So as a support for her, and because I do think this has been vetted and it's ready to go, I'm going to support this. But I do agree with Dr. Chase that I think we need to look very carefully at what we move to action, so that we do give the community a chance for input as well as ourselves to go back and perhaps study these things a little longer when they come back. But I'm going to support this one.
I just want to say that I do appreciate Dr. Chase's comment. I think that we do have to be a little more judicious in moving things to action that aren't requested. However, having submitted grants to the federal government, I also know that things can go wrong. and I'm just afraid that, I want to make sure that they have ample time to be able to pull anything together should there be any complication. And that Head Start Policy Council has vetted this. Many of these policies, many of these self-assessments were brought to us over the course of several months. And then the whole thing was just discussed in mass last month.
And since I moved it to action, I want to say I usually agree to give it time. But in this case here, I just feel that with the way how, COVID and government rules and a delay for these little kiddos, I want this to be done looking at some of the documents that I think is going to take a little bit of time and making sure that everything is in place. Better have it in than not. And if the next time we meet, we're just going to go through it and approve it. Why not approve it now? This is something that I'm passionate about North Star and early Head Start. So I'm going to, if there's no other comments, I will want to move it to approve.
All right. I think we've had discussion about moving to action. I agree with those that are commented. Again, I will this evening do that in light of COVID and other sort of extenuating circumstances. I will be supporting it this evening, but I do believe we do have to be watchful of that. So all those in favor of moving the Head Start funding application to action, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there a follow-on motion?
Move to approve 1003.
Second.
1004, sorry.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on to our first information item again, which will be the approval of our multi-year purchase contract regarding Naviance at all middle and high schools. Are there any questions regarding this agenda item? Okay, let me start with Dr. Warner, then Ms. Randall.
Is this a program that we've been using, or is this a new program? Thank you. I apologize for having the history. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, good evening. This is a program we've been using for 6 years, and we have expanded to the middle school program the last 2 years, and it's a very effective program that we would like to see continue. So it's budgeted every year, but to save us some additional money, if we sign a 5-year contract, it will save us money in the long run.
All right, any other questions? Ms. Randall, did you have was your question answered? Or no?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Hearing no other questions, thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
And then the last item is about the approval and adoption of textbooks and resources for science, English for speakers of other languages, International Baccalaureate, Economics, and IB Theory of Knowledge. Are there any questions regarding this item?
I have one question.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know if it's been here all along, but on the grade 1 science, it's $70 per book, but then it stated that it was $10 per student. Is that in addition? Is that cost in addition?
Good evening. Regarding the science, I'm going to ask Karen Duffy and Mike Pratt. They've come tonight, and Mike was your committee chair, and they can explain that question to you. And I really want to thank them. This year was unprecedented because we had to have virtual textbook and curricular resource adoption. So they all came this evening to answer some questions. So Dr. Duffy, Mr. Pratt.
Not least, right? Last but not least. So it's a great question. It's a digital resource that's $10 per student. So the grade 1, so all those Discovery Ed are $10 per child.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I'll be remiss if I don't ask you about, I was trying to figure out if we're going to have in the history, are we planning on having amendments? Because I see that you have a team that reviews these textbooks, and then one of them I think is a parent, but I'm not sure what the criteria is, but we could talk about that another time.
Sure.
So, you know, what the criteria is that they're saying yes or no, but I know we talked about having, you know, African-American history, but I wanted to be inclusive, not just African-American, but Asian Pacific, Indian history as amendments, even if we can't get them in the textbook, have amendments, because it's not like I want it to be in February or in May, you know, for certain history lessons. It needs to be inclusive while you're teaching history. Anytime you have history, you teach the whole history, not just part of it.
Understood. So the full history revisions happen in 2022 or 23?
2023. So they'll come up for adoption that very next year. So that will be the full inclusive look at history. Anything else?
Oh, Ms. Randall, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Yes, so my question is that since we've gone through all these purchases to get our students on devices, is there any cost savings or differences? I mean, because in previous to this, there's been some cases where each child has 2 textbooks, one at school, one at home. And so now that we're down with devices, my question is, how are we making things different in the way of textbook purchasing?
Sure. So that's a great question, Mrs. Randall. Typically, if a child has a book at school and a book at home, they have an IEP or something written into an accommodation that says that they need to have that for most children. What we have for primarily are some digital resources. So our K-5 is strictly fully digital. Some of our ESOL resources are fully digital now that our children are one-to-one. And then we have a print digital bundle for the other books. So kids can have both options. And we were able to work with the vendors to get that option. So thanks for that question. That's a good one. Anybody else? Dr. Chase, I think you were.
Yeah, so I'm just, the theory of knowledge for IB, is that course taken every year, or is that course taken at the end of your 4 years?
Yeah,
or?
so I need Mr. Powell for that.
Sure.
IB Theory of Knowledge is a 2-year course. They take their junior and senior year.
Okay, so I'm just curious. I was just curious why for IB Economics for both schools you only need 40 textbooks, but you need 130 textbooks for Theory of Knowledge. Just wondered what how does that break down?
Not every kid takes IB Economics. That's in the IB program, but every kid does do the Theory of Knowledge. We have just basically one class.
So do we have 130 IB students every year?
Well, it's not every year, but you got to remember it's a 2-year course, so you have juniors and seniors both needing the book.
Okay, and so they're getting 2 books?
Right. There's the textbook and then there's the student guide.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
I'm glad you stumped me because they've been here all night.
Yes.
So I would have felt terrible if they didn't get a question.
And
Anything else?
I would just make the comment, I'm sure Mr. Fulmer will correct me if I'm wrong, or Dr. Duffy will correct me. One of the things about textbooks, I hope everybody sees that first line, that the state provides 56% of the funds to purchase new textbooks. So when we have those line items in the budget, when it says textbooks, if we do not buy them, we do not first receive the state money, but then we don't use that money for the purchase of textbooks. That is a dedicated line in our budget regarding textbooks. Is that generally correct?
Yes. Mr. Fulmer has schooled me well. Yes.
I just like to show that because
it's important.
It's important just to know that that's a matching is it, Mr. Fulmer, is it a matching program, or is that not really the best way to look at it?
It's part of the composite index.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right. I just wanted to clarify that. All right. Any other questions for our wonderful educators who've spent the whole evening with us?
We do want to thank them, though, just if I could.
I do.
Right?
Thank
Lisa
you all.
Yeske
Thank you so
led
much
our
for coming
ESOL,
today.
Eric Powell led our IB, and Mike Pratt led K-8 Science all at one time virtually. They are superstars.
I thank all of our staff for the support that they give us every evening of our board meetings. So with that, we will be adjourning. However, remember, our next full meeting is going to be on April 27th, which will include a budget work session. And as noted by Mr. Fulmer, there is one also scheduled for the 22nd. And in board chambers. All right. So everyone, thank you so much for a great evening. And we are adjourned. Thank you.